it did not stop one Dijonai Carrington. Of course, she's the person that multiple times had, egregious altercations with Caitlin Clark last year, including the eye poke, the eye gouge, the eye scoop out of Caitlin Clark's head, heard round the world last year, as well as whatever that.
During a tense matchup, Dijonai Carrington sparked controversy by delivering a vicious slap to Kate Martin.
Just so happens, I'm just going to point this out. Kate Martin is white. All right? She's a white gal. Yeah. I don't know that influenced this, but it just seems kind of odd how this keeps happening out there involving Dijonai Carrington and Kate Martin. In this case, before it was Caitlin Clark. And does Caitlin Clark's relationship, and what I mean is friendship, with Kate Martin, is that influenced here in this, once again, egregious action, really multiple actions, by Dijonai Carrington on Kate Martin last night, by the way,
leaving fans stunned and players scrambling to separate the two. It wasn't just a foul. It was a moment that instantly lit up social media and reignited conversations about the fiery rivalries in women's basketball. Kate Martin, not one to back down, has finally spoken out about the incident, and her words are as bold as her game on the court. So, what led to this heated exchange? Was this a case of emotions running high? Or something deeper brewing between these two stars? Dijonai Carrington made waves last year when she slapped Caitlin Clark near the goal during a heated game, an incident that had fans questioning her sportsmanship. While Clark kept her cool, Carrington's actions drew heavy criticism for crossing the line. Now, with her latest altercation with Kate Martin, it's clear that Carrington's aggressive style is still putting her in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons.
She laughing, look at her. Bro, look at this, bow!
She did, and listen.
My goodness.
Felt like she got fouled on the other end.
My goodness, bro. As you guys can see there, look. Don't this look very familiar? Look at her, she trying to poke her in the eye. She trying to poke her in the eye, I don't give a damn what nobody said. She trying to poke Kate Martin in the eye. Watch her hand. Watch her hand. Kate Martin knows she trying to poke her in the eye. Look at it one more time, I ain't playing. Watch her hand, bow. Straight for her face.
On the defensive end, Martin was just as dominant. Her 3 steals were a testament to her ability to read the game, as she constantly anticipated passes and disrupted her opponent's flow. She was relentless in her pursuit of the ball, making life difficult for the opposition and creating fast break opportunities. In just a short amount of time on the floor, Kate Martin's versatility and skill set were on full display. With every game, she's proving why she's a standout in this league and a key player for both the Golden State Valkyries and Laces BC. While Kate Martin's performance was impressive across the board, what really caught the attention of fans were a couple of intense interactions between her and Miss BC and Connecticut's Sun, guard Dijonai Carrington. The two exchanged some fiery moments on the court, adding an extra layer of intensity to an already high-stakes game. Kate Martin and Caitlin Clark were teammates at Iowa and have remained close friends after graduation. On Clark's birthday, Martin sent her a simple yet heartfelt 4-word message: "You amaze me." This brief message perfectly captures the deep admiration and respect Martin has for Clark, both as a player and as a person. When Clark was drafted first overall by the Indiana Fever and Martin went in the second round to the Las Vegas Aces, the two publicly celebrated each other's accomplishments. Clark also encouraged Martin when she was recently selected by the Golden State Valkyries in the WNBA expansion draft. And Martin spoke up publicly for her friend during the summer, saying that Clark was being shouldered with unrealistic expectations. "I don't know if there's too much I can do besides just be a friend, right? Be a listening ear and being there for her," Martin said at the time. Caitlin's phenomenal, and she is having a great rookie season. I think people are really hard on her and expecting her to be perfect. Martin tagged her in her Instagram story, sharing a collage of photos of the two together along with a quick message. Clark reposted Martin's story on her own, so she saw her friend's birthday wishes. We're sure the two have chatted privately as well. This morning, Clark announced a major charitable endeavor, Her Caitlin Clark Foundation is partnering with Scholastic's United States of Tool Readers program to donate 22,000 books to underfunded schools in Indiana and Iowa. Reading and education have always been hugely important in my life. I remember picking out the books from the Scholastic flyer and how empowering that was for me as a child, and how motivated I was to read, Clark said in a statement. I want to help kids have the same experience, to develop their reading skills and open their imaginations to dream big. I am thrilled that my foundation will support reading as literacy champions by collaborating with Scholastic and the United States of Readers. Golden State Valkyries and Laces BC star Kate Martin is having an exceptional start to her 3x3 League campaign, and her latest performance only solidified her status as one of the league's most dynamic players. In just 10 minutes of action, Martin was everywhere on the court, finishing with 10 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and 3 steals, an all-around stat line that shows just how impactful she is on both ends of the floor. Offensively, Martin was a constant threat, scoring efficiently and helping to drive her team's offensive rhythm. She knocked down crucial shots, whether it was hitting a jumper in traffic or finishing fast breaks with poise. But it wasn't just her scoring. She showcased her playmaking ability, dishing out 3 assists, setting up teammates with perfect passes in transition, and finding open shooters when the defense collapsed. These back and forths didn't just show off their competitive spirit. They highlighted the growing rivalry between the two, one that fans are definitely keeping an eye on as the season progresses. Whether it was a contested play or a quick verbal exchange, it was clear both players were locked in and determined to outplay each other. It's moments like these that make this league so exciting. When the rivalry heats up, you know the stakes are about to rise even higher. One moment that really stood out in the first quarter was when Dijonai Carrington made her presence felt in a big way. As Kate Martin went for a layup, Carrington was right there to contest, but things got a bit too physical. In what seemed like an accidental collision, Carrington's arm caught Martin hard on the face, sending her reeling. The referee immediately blew the whistle, calling a foul on Carrington. Martin appeared shaken up for a few seconds as she tried to recover from the impact. It was a tough moment for the Laces BC star, but she quickly composed herself, showcasing her toughness and resilience. This physicality between the two only added fuel to the competitive fire on the court, highlighting the intensity and emotions that often bubble up in these high-stakes games. The intensity didn't die down after that first exchange. Later in the game, another foul was called on Dijonai Carrington, and this time, it was a bit more blatant. As Kate Martin drove to the basket, Carrington aggressively swiped at the ball Martin was holding, but she missed it entirely. Instead, her hand came down hard on Martin's arm, sending a shock through her body. The referee immediately signaled for another foul, and it was clear Carrington's frustration was starting to show. Martin, already feeling the effects of that earlier hit to the face, once again took the contact in stride, shaking it off and continuing to play with the same intensity. This sequence of physical plays between the two players added an extra layer of drama to the matchup, reminding everyone just how fiercely competitive these athletes are. It was clear that the tension between Carrington and Martin was building, and you could feel the energy shift in the arena with each confrontation. What made this entire sequence even more captivating was the deep-rooted history between Dijonai Carrington and Caitlin Clark, Kate Martin's best friend. Carrington has long been known for her controversial and ultra-physical defense against Clark, often pushing the boundaries of what's considered fair play. The intensity of their past encounters set the stage for what was about to unfold, adding an undeniable layer of tension to the game. As if on cue, that same competitive fire ignited between Carrington and Martin. Both players are no strangers to playing with emotion, and the physicality between them felt even more heightened knowing the backstory. Every move on the court carried a sense of history, the weight of Carrington's past matchups with Clark hanging in the air, making these exchanges between her and Martin feel all the more charged. And let's not forget the bond between Martin and Clark. Martin wasn't just playing for herself, she was playing with a purpose, defending her best friend, and standing up to the same aggressive defense that Clark had faced for so long. The fire in her eyes was unmistakable as she matched Carrington's intensity play for play. On the other side, Carrington's physical defense was relentless as ever, bringing the same edge that had defined her previous battles with Clark. But this time, the spotlight was on Martin, and she wasn't backing down. The tension between the two was palpable, and as the game wore on, it was clear this wasn't just another matchup, it was personal. The physical play between Dijonai Carrington and Kate Martin definitely sparked conversation, but when you take a step back, it's clear that Carrington's hard fouls weren't necessarily about personal animosity. Instead, they were likely fueled by pure frustration. Her team was getting thoroughly outplayed, and Carrington, usually a steady and dominant force on both offense and defense, was having an unusually tough game. By the final buzzer, she had scored just 2 points on a dismal 1 of 10 shooting from the field, nowhere near the level of performance fans and teammates are accustomed to seeing from her. The intensity didn't die down after that first exchange. Later in the game, another foul was called on Dijonai Carrington, and this time, it was a bit more blatant. As Kate Martin drove to the basket, Carrington aggressively swiped at the ball Martin was holding, but she missed it entirely. Instead, her hand came down hard on Martin's arm, sending a shock through her body. The referee immediately signaled for another foul, and it was clear Carrington's frustration was starting to show. Martin, already feeling the effects of that earlier hit to the face, once again took the contact in stride, shaking it off and continuing to play with the same intensity. This sequence of physical plays between the two players added an extra layer of drama to the matchup, reminding everyone just how fiercely competitive these athletes are. It was clear that the tension between Carrington and Martin was building, and you could feel the energy shift in the arena with each confrontation. For a player like Carrington, who's used to being a game changer, struggling to make an impact on the court can take a serious toll on their mindset, and that frustration began to spill over into her physical play. It's not uncommon for emotions to get the best of players when they're in a rough patch, when shots aren't falling, and your team's chances of a comeback are slipping away. Some players channel that pent-up frustration in more aggressive ways, leading to moments like those fouls on Martin. It's that emotional release, but it's a fine line between trying to energize yourself and losing control of the game. On the flip side, Kate Martin handled it all with remarkable poise. Even in the face of such aggression, Martin never let Carrington's frustration rattle her. Despite the hard fouls and the obvious tension building, Martin remained calm, focused, and determined. She wasn't just playing for the win, she was playing for something much bigger, defending her best friend, Caitlin Clark, and showing that she could rise above the chaos on the court. Instead of engaging in the same physicality, Martin kept her head in the game, directing her energy into leading her team, keeping them composed, and making sure they stayed in control of the bigger picture. Her composure in the face of adversity was exactly what her team needed to finish strong.